Scott, I'm going to turn to you now because, one, you're getting like this probably interesting kind of primer on King County that maybe you weren't expecting today. There will be no test later, so don't worry about that.
But I think we'll welcome your application.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting. The part I loved about the video was that it showed where we were when we first started and what the demographics were like and the community was like and our workforce. It would be fascinating to see that side by side with Columbia because you guys have been around more than 75 years. So what your workforce and the realities of your industry were like 75 years ago would probably be a fascinating discussion. But what I want to talk about is how Columbia approaches some of these things that we're grappling with right now. So you guys have this this tagline that I love: relentlessly trying stuff. That's actually what it says, which sounds a lot like our continuous improvement. How do you work towards all of this employee engagement work and make sure that your employees are engaged and have the opportunity to do some of the things that we're working on with our employees as well?
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for bringing me up to King County. We may be in Portland, but we do have a big presence and interest in King County. Some of you may have been to our store in downtown Seattle. Many of our key partners like REI are located in Seattle, and you guys also share Portland's status as kind of a hub for the outdoor and athletic industry with so many different brands. In fact, I'm going to go visit K2 after I leave here. So thanks. Columbia does have a lot of similarities as far as growth. We have grown from a single company to a portfolio of 5 different companies now. We've got somewhere around 5,000 employees globally. We're in 122 different countries. We share some of the same challenges around diversity. Being located in Portland, while we're a multicultural company, we may not be that multicultural at each office at the company. We also are trying to, a lot of the employees that you're trying to recruit are those same consumers that we're trying to recruit. So those same type of value statements and ways to connect, we share those. My job, my department's mission, as odd as it might sound, is to build an emotional connection to our consumers, retailers, and employees. And it may sound weird, but 90% of all the decisions that you make are emotional and not rational. And if you think differently, you're just trying to rationalize your emotional decisions. So for us at Columbia, typically, and this is a Prana shirt, so this won't work. Prana is one of our brands. But normally our logo is on our heart. That's right here on the chest. And so when you wear apparel and you think about any of the brands that you buy, it's sort of a value statement for you. It represents your values in some way. It represents who you are, who you want to be as a person. And as an outdoor company, it's very important for us to share our values to our consumers and to our employees. So building that emotional connection is really why we do all the different community investment programs that we do. And we feel that employee engagement is one of the most important parts of that because our company is our people. And we have to be an innovative company in order to survive. Hopefully you've seen some of the great new innovations that we've come out with. But really it's a challenge to always keep creative people creating and keep them innovative, to recruit people to Portland, to take advantage of the multicultural environment that we have at Columbia. And really the best ideas that ever come out of Columbia come out of conference calls that have people from 8 different countries on it, because you get the perspective through those type of conversations that you just can't get at headquarters.
Thank you. And I'm going to come back to you in just a second, but I want to turn back to Executive Constantine because you reminded me of something. You've got this business to run. We've got this government to run. You've got 1 or 2 or 9,000 things on your plate to deal with every day. Why focus on this? Because there are many things pulling your attention and where you could be focusing your energies right now.
Right. Well, first I want to pause and thank Scott and thank Columbia for being here today. It's wonderful to have your perspective and validation. I appreciate very much. You know, we're the kind of place where people come to work for more than just the pay and benefits, right? Because you can do better in a lot of places in the private sector. It's a little more stable and secure, but the pay is not as high as people with equivalent training or education might get elsewhere in the economy. But people come to work at King County because they want their work to have meaning, because they want to create cleaner water, or they want to have healthier kids, or they they want to help the homeless get back on their feet. They want the work that they are doing to earn a paycheck, to earn benefits, to also have meaning, to make their community a better place. And I think a lot of times we get in the way, the structures that we've created get in the way of them being able to do that. You know, just as sometimes, perhaps often, depending on where you work, you hear from members of the public who are frustrated by red tape, by the inability to get to the final answer, to hurdles placed in their way. The same thing happens to employees. You know that you want to do something to help this member of the public get what they need to make the community better, but the way your job is set up isn't allowing that to happen. So I see my job, I see our job as tearing down those barriers so that our employees can be fully engaged, so that every day you can be more satisfied with being able to deliver for the people we're serving. I think that that will increase our customer satisfaction from members of the public, and I think it will also increase the satisfaction of each of us working here at King County.
So I'm going to channel the voices that I've heard in some of the outreach that we've done around the Equity and Social Justice Initiative and the strategic plan around that. And we do hear from employees who say, you know, that sounds good, but in my area, I've tried to do things differently. I've tried continuous improvement, or I had this great idea and I was bursting at the seams and I went to my supervisor and I got shut down. You know, how do we help that employee, and also how do we help those supervisors, because we know they're out there, right, who are struggling with this. It's a pretty big shift in what we're asking from them, because a lot of them have had very strong careers not doing it that way. So how do we help their employees and also those supervisors you know, kind of embrace this approach of kind of shared decision making, which is very different from some people.
So this is the flip side of the story I told about the employee stopping me in the hall and telling me excitedly about the change they're making in their job. I also hear from employees who really want to make change but are being frustrated because they don't have an avenue to do it. That is not the kind of employer we want to be, and that is not what we're going to settle for. One, because it makes our employees less satisfied, and two, because it means we are not able to be the best run government and deliver the most service for the dollars available. Nobody in our organization should have to feel as though they're being prevented from doing their best. No one should have to feel ignored or silenced or discounted because they want to do things differently than we've done them before. And I don't want our supervisors or managers to feel as though it's tremendously risky for them to open up and embrace new ideas coming from the people they manage. You know, I have met a lot of employees who are so passionate about the innovative work they're doing. And they keep up with the research, they keep up with what's going on nationally in their field. They want to bring those innovations that they're seeing elsewhere to King County. I encourage supervisors to really seek out those employees and listen to what they have to say and find ways in which we can try new ideas, surface those ideas. Some of them are not right for us, but a few of them will be right for us. And we have to be open to that if we're going to continuously improve. Coach the employees by asking them questions. Anticipate problems that might arise because change is inherently threatening to people, and help employees manage through that change. Work through these new ideas and test them, and if they work, great. And as I said at the start, if they don't work, then we know one of the things that doesn't work, and we can move on to the next one. This is how improvement happens, right? It is a series of experiments. It's being open to new ideas, and we have to be open to new ways of working and new ways of thinking, and be a fully inclusive workplace if we are going to be successful in the future, because that is what the new generation of employees is going to expect from their employer.
So Nancy, there's research on everything, so I'm sure there is research on employee engagement. What is it saying about, you know, what's the best practice, I guess, to do this? How do we go about implementing this in our business in our government. What do we know about employee engagement, how it works really for the, you said it was, some things are done by the heart and some things you do because you're trying to be rational about it. What do we know about employee engagement?
Well, I'm actually not going to answer your question. I'm going to make the audience answer your question. Okay. So we're going to try a little experiment. We may fail forward a little bit on this one. It's a great question, but each of you has under your seat and now up on the screen a question that we want you to answer by following one of the elaborate instructions that are up there. So in the 2012 King County Employee Engagement Survey, which did we say, as King County employees, had the strongest relationship to how we were feeling engaged at work? If you weren't here in 2012, because I see one looking quizzical employee out there, just make a guess, an educated guess.
Supervision, respect, customer service, or mission and goals?
And you have 3 different ways to respond.
I'm assuming we're calling the prosecuting attorney to find out if we owe royalties for that.
Exactly. We'll look into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the answer?
Okay.
Oh.
Oh. Somebody changing their answers, submitting now. That's still a huge winner there.
I
Supervision.
think supervision,
Yeah.
and that isn't a big surprise. And in fact, that is the number. Not only did we respond in King County, you are correct.
Mm-hmm.
That 2012, we all said that one of the biggest drivers of our engagement was our relationship with our supervisor, and that is borne out by the research. How our supervisor demonstrates whether they care about us at work, whether we get regular, meaningful performance feedback on our performance, hopefully more positive than negative. Knowing that our supervisor supports us in our goals for advancement with coaching and stretch opportunities, and that the supervisor handles conflict on teams and holds people accountable. All of those are critical to employees feeling connected to the work. Being a supervisor is one of the hardest jobs. Being that people leader, you have to develop a whole set of skills that the more that you use them, the better you get. You have to learn more about how your team works, how they process information, and that way you can get the best out of them, with them, getting their best thinking. So we're working in central HR and across the government to better support our supervisors. We launched the Leadership Academy a couple years ago. We've actually put through almost 1,000 supervisors, managers, and aspiring leaders into that. It's a broad brush orientation program. We're currently working on some deeper dives in how to be a coach, how to lead through coaching, and those will come in 2016, but our lean team has been offering those already. What else drives engagement? We know having access to growth and learning and development opportunities, it's a big driver, and we heard that in the 2012 survey, and that's why Executive Constantine and the council refunded learning and development, and in this last year we've actually offered 171 classes and we've trained over 6,400 employees. And that was from 0 of a centralized training function, so that has been huge. One other thing that we've got, we launched this last year was a Bridge Academy. It was an internal internship fellowship program that allowed employees to go through training, do a role immersion, take on different roles so that they could learn and grow. And we actually have just hired on a special duty one of those Bridge Fellows to come and run the Bridge Fellowship program within Central HR, and she starts in a couple of weeks. Transit HR implemented a number of changes during the most recent base chief promotional exam that they ran. This was part of the Partnership to Achieve Comprehensive Equity, their recommendations, and they did an amazing number of resume and skill building workshops for any employee, any transit operator who was interested in applying for the promotional opportunity. We've just opened in Central HR a employee resource center where any employee can drop in and get resume and interview skill building. So we're working on some of those drivers that we heard from employees, but we can do a lot more. We need to make it easier for frontline employees to have access to training, to be able to take the time off. We do hear that a lot. You have a lot of training, but we can't get the time. And the problem is, if we hire the best and we don't allow them that time to learn and grow, we just make them stupid and their skills stale, and that's not okay. And they become disengaged or they leave to go somewhere else. So there's not necessarily Columbia, but there's a lot we can do, and we are doing to make King County the best place for employees.